in addition to said sewage facilities is hereby reserved, provided that if additional sewage facilities are constructed, such construction and installation shall not interfere with the use at that time of the property by the grantee or its successors and assigns. Well, the way we've always interpreted this for our purposes of park construction is they're not asking to use the property, therefore we have a lease with the community center to build public property, public park facilities, and that's what we've been doing. Now, the other item that shows up in that deed is the discussion is completely about sewage. But they're not asking to put a sewage system in, they're asking to put a well in. So we have been discussing this with our attorneys as to what is the issues here and what are we faced with, and are we even supposed to be involved in this discussion. I did make it clear to the school board that there was an issue with their location choice. I offered to them our existing well site. They would have to put in a larger well, and then they would have to pipe it across the creek, either above or below ground. And that was an option to them. We knew that there was water in that area. They would just have to put in a larger well. We could close our well as long as they agreed to provide us with the water that we needed, which would be minimal to what they want. They don't want to go that route. They want to look at this site first for their well. Of course, they may not get water at all. That's unlikely considering most people find water to be deep enough. The questions before us are at least threefold. First is, what does it mean by at that time? We have a planned memorial that's been approved by the council for that location. So it's already been dedicated essentially. In addition to that, part of our repair field for our system is in that same area, which we've worked out with the VFW, so there's no impacts, but that repair field is required. So it needs to be there even though it's unbuilt. So they've asked us to move that repair field. And there may or may not be property within the park that we could do that, but it would be at our expense down the road if we ever need to use it. So the first question is a planned piece of property under use the equivalent of having it there, and that their use is interfering with our use? The second item is the fact that we're looking at a well system that they want to put in, but the deed refers only to sewage. So is there even standing under the deed for the school board to make the requests that they're making? The third part about it is that, is the town of Summerfield even directly involved with this at all? The deed is between the Summerfield Community Center, which is still in existence, they own the property, and the school board. So the question really is this a discussion that we don't need to be part of, and it's a discussion between the Summerfield Community Center and the school board, and whether we want to do either to support one side or the other, or to just back out completely and let them have that discussion.
Well, according to the deed, we are the successors and assigns of the lease. So that, to me, is cut and dry, as far as whether we have standing to contest this.
We do, however, what interest we hold as a successor or assign is dictated by our lease with the community center. And we cannot trump their reserved easement, which is in the deed. However, I think I think Mr. Brandt read that to you, that said, and an easement and right-of-way for the maintenance, repair, and replacement of additional said sewer facilities is hereby reserved. So even though we're a successor or assign, we still take the property subject to that easement. However, I think the better argument is this is not sewage.
Right.
This is not sewage, period. So I think the position to be taken, at least with regard to the lease, is you have no rights to invoke whatever you want to do with regard to the well under the deed. That does not preclude the community center from negotiating an easement for this well between them and school board, because they're still the fee owners of the property. Am I losing anybody? Okay. That being said, if that is a position that the community center wants to take, I would say that the community center is in breach of our lease, in that that construction would be interfering with our use that they've leased to us in the 2004 agreement.
Another question is the fact that the lease says County of Guilford, Michael said school board, so Guilford County is under the property, not the school board. Is that correct?
I don't know what the status was in 1955 as to whether or not those were the same entities or considered themselves the same entities, or whether that was separate entities. So I don't know how to respond.
You said County of Guilford, so I would take that at face value. My first thought, take that at face value. Okay. What would you suggest as a starting point? My first thought was have you talk with school board politely, after we reviewed all these things and see what they have to say and follow it up by a lawyer or something. Or what would be your suggestion?
Well, I think that, as I mentioned, I have met with them, and I met with them before I had the full understanding of what the DEC is regarding sewage versus utilities. At the time of my discussion with them, and the way that they were discussing it, they were making an assumption that it was utilities, which would then include water and anything of that sort. Clearly, this says sewage, so based on the fact that we are at a sign, and based on the fact that it says sewage, and the fact that we had already basically made a promise from council to protect a piece of property for the BOW, then I think we would need to consider going back to the school board and telling them we're not agreeing to what you're agreeing in the deed, and you don't have any standing to get that. Now, whether that becomes a legal fight or whether they'll agree to consider other options, such as the option that we've already offered them. But I don't know, that was an option that I recommended as a suggestion to them, but I have no authority to make that outright. So if council were to act on that, it essentially would be joining some sort of partnership for that water. I would think that would be the best solution for the community, but I think what the school board is concerned about is the cost to run that additional pipe. By indications both from our construction plus just looking around the creek bed, there's a lot of granite in that area, and it may become very expensive to trench a line in. And then they've got to either go under the creek or over the creek. They go under it, and of course they got to worry about underground, whatever's under there. So, I mean, we can, I think it's the appropriate thing to do to go back to them. I just don't know what their response is going to be and where we'll end up when all this is said and done. I just want to make you aware of that. Because
well, another suggestion that another bit of information I got this afternoon, Danny Nelson tells me that through our well on this side is a 50-gallon-a-minute well. I don't know how deep it is, and I'm wondering aloud if that well on this side would be proper for them.
I'm not positive, but I think one issue I'm not sure if they measured it or not, is whether or not there was enough distance to the road to meet their dimensional requirements.
Right.
That would also be possible if it met their standard and served us. Of course, that well serves this building too, so our water use is still probably negligible compared to theirs.
Right. With a 50-gallon-a-minute well like we've got on this side, it might be something carrot to throw out. Yes, sir.
I'm treasurer of the community center board. I've been a board member for several years. Before you offer the school that other well area, after your lease ends, that well may have to go also. So I think that agreement has to be ran to the community center board first.
I think the location of that well is on the county property portion, not on the community center.
But I suggest that you get with the community center board.
Well, I do agree that we do need to coordinate this with the community center board.
See what they think
and
on.
they can go a completely different direction. I would be surprised, but I would assume that they would want to support the BFW in this.
Right. Council has other thoughts.
Is there not any other location at all where they could put that